Here. Yes. So welcome everybody. We're just chit-chatting a little bit, congratulating Carolyn on her accomplishment yesterday. And now I'm hoping someone will make a motion to approve the minutes. So moved. Is there a second?
Primary death.
Carolyn seconded. I just want to make a brief comment on the minutes. So one of the things in the minutes is this conversation regarding policy and ordinance. And I certainly did not mean to be oppositional or combative about that. But when we put the proposal and all that stuff together, we were very intentionally vague about that question. Because there had been like conversations about it, a little bit of back and forth and whatever. So it's my hope that we hear what everybody has to say about that, and that we all think about it, and that we do something. So I just wanted to mention, and that we do something, meaning that we make an informed decision together about what we want to do. To that end, I just put together this very simple little thing that is my little mind at work about how you can make some notes about this topic. I do think it's one of the key topics that we're going to have to navigate. But I just wanted to make that one brief comment about the minutes. Other than that, does anyone else have anything to say about the minutes from last time? Okay, seeing notes, all in favor of approving minutes from our last meeting? And Matt is in favor. I don't see anyone opposed. Thank you so much, folks. I just want to do I have a couple very brief things in the way of updates. Carolyn serendipitously brought back the book. So, okay, Lori now has the book. There's some books circulating out there. I brought a couple more books to put out in circulation. So I'm going to make better notes about who has the books and when they were taken. And if it would be nice to kind of keep them moving, but there's 3 books. There's actually at least one more book out there. So Lori has the Strong Towns book. This is the second one in that series. This is Confessions of a Recovering Engineer. Great book that I would recommend. And then this is Walkable City Rules. This is the Jeff Speck book. This is like a coffee table book, but it's really helpful. I think it's like nice to look at. You can just kind of browse it. Ben? Okay.
What's that one called?
Super duper. It's called Walkable City Rules. I think one of the other books that's floating out there is Walkable City, which is the same author. I think Jeanette might have it. I'm not sure. But anyway, so there's one more book here if anybody's interested in a book. Matt had Strong Towns, and then Carolyn had Strong Towns, and now Lori has Strong Towns. Okie dokie, that was all I had in the way of announcements. I think any other announcements? Books. Okay, any adjustments? All right, seeing no adjustments to the agenda this evening, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah.
Do we have to? The menu?
You didn't second, but you took it.
Then we do adjustments before we vote?
Adjustments to the agenda for this evening.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm only half here apparently.
All right.
Awesome. So we have a lot to cover tonight. So brace yourselves. I think that I would like to start with talking about the quick builds and pass it over to Jim so we can kind of wrap that up before we get into the plan and policy and all that good stuff. Does that sound all right, Jim? Everyone else?
Great.
Ready to go? Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everybody. So last meeting, I was tasked to kind of finalize the designs and proposal language for the 4 locations that we discussed, Mallet Drive, Forside Road, and then 2 locations on Main Street, 1 Monument Place, and 1 being Elm Street. So I've done that, and I've created some quantities and cost estimates, kind of ballpark it. I've designed these documents to really kind of enable you guys to do it yourself. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the timetable is. I think we were talking next time at the last meeting about doing this next year. So I tried to design these in a way that you had sufficient information that you could implement these. Would you like to quickly go over these? I mean, you've seen the preliminary designs. I can show you some of the changes I made, which are pretty minor, but or we could talk about quantities and costs to do whichever of these projects you want to do.
Could we look at one of them at least, Jim?
Sure.
Can we look at Elm
Okay.
Street, Maine?
Sure. All right. Let me do a share here. Get back to me.
So while Jim's pulling that up, I just wanted to add at the building conference last week, I got a chance to touch base with some folks from DOT.
Okay.
They said they do have materials available for towns to use, so if we just get them a list of what we need, we can see what's possible. And he wasn't sure, he was gonna double check if we could use them on projects that were not on main DOT roads. He said that if we wanted to do like Mallet, that would be an easy one that could maybe be done this summer. But he just wanted to make sure that we could use their materials.
Who did you speak to?
To Matt Drost.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm acquainted.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
So I'll follow up on that with him and just get clarity around that.
Cool. So nod your heads affirmatively if you can see a demonstration project proposal for Maine at Elm.
Can you make it bigger, Jim, somehow?
Bigger?
Is that possible?
It probably is. How's that?
That's a little bit better.
So this just kind of runs it through the pages. So this is very much a standardized template that I use when I'm making proposals on roads that are going to go before the DOT. So you get a summary, you get a little bit of an explanation of what we're hoping to do at Elm Street. It clarifies that this will be needing approval from Topsham and Maine DOT. Talks a little bit about time frame. This is the location that we're talking about. It gives you road information. A lot of surprising number of crashes at this location. I'm surprised
What's
you guys, but
how far back does that go?
I looked back 10 years. So I went back. So I looked at 2015 to 2025, and so quite a few crashes in there, which suggests that there are issues with that intersection generally. And then the biggest change I made to the design that you guys saw last time was the addition of mountable elements to harden the center line, so that, for example, when a person makes this turning movement, they're going to have to, kind of flare out so that they cross that crosswalk slowly. They're not going to be able to do any kind of cut across move. Probably more importantly here, they're not. You can see this car cutting the corner a little bit, and so this will force a slower, more deliberate turn. Same thing down here, a slower, more deliberate turn. These flex posts in front could be not included, so that if you think you're going to get a lot of trucks or something going over it, but I can't believe that there would be a lot of truck traffic going down Winter Street. But this is more or less what we saw last time, and then this is just, again, presented in a way that when you send this to the Maine DOT regional engineer, it'll look familiar to him or her, and they will be able to review it pretty quickly. It talks about metrics. These are all things that the DOT specifically requests in its guide to demonstration projects. We have a maintenance plan. All of this should be reviewed and discussed a little bit to make sure that you're able to cover these things. I didn't have a town contact, and then we need to actually, I guess I need to probably add a DOT box here as well, so they can sign it. But so all 4 projects are rendered in essentially this form. They are, this is the format that you can use to present them to council to get approval. DOT will not look at these projects until your town council has signed off and said that you want this to happen. So that's the first step. They need to go to some sort of process in Topsham. If your town engineer is willing to, town manager is just willing to sign off on them, that usually works for Maine DOT. But someone from town government has to say yes, we want to do this. Then it goes on to Maine DOT, and then they'll approve it, and then we move towards implementation. Maine DOT has been pretty good about providing materials for projects like this. They spec a slightly different flex post than I use, but it's still a very serviceable post. It's actually a little bit cheaper than the one I spec, but I think mine looks better. And just quick, go ahead.
Is that in the Google Drive, the top of Google Drive?
No.
It's not yet, because I only just finished it and sent it over to Sarah and Vanessa today. I wanted them to look at it, but it could be, and I can either convert it into PDFs. At the moment, it is set up so that anyone who's got the link to these documents can comment on them, so that way, if there's any edits you guys want to make, you can put those in the comments, and we can make that happen. I'm just going to show you this other thing really quick here, just to give you some idea of what I calculated the costs at for these projects.
Very good. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that I don't know how we're supposed to follow when we haven't seen this yet to look at it. Like, we haven't seen the changes to the builds. Mallet Drive, for instance, not that I've got a craw about that.
Do you want to see Mallet Drive?
Link page here, and it wasn't on the previous.
So I want to talk a little bit about format. So Jim's work is still a work in progress, and what he's making as a tidy packet is going to be in an appendices as a ready-made, pull it out, the pieces we need to send to the DOT. But the incorporation of the information is going to come out of the thing he's making and go into the actual document that we're making, so it's cohesive. So right now, this is work in progress, and you're walking through refinements based on feedback from the last meeting. Is that correct, Jim?
That is correct, and and we did share some back and forth with I'm sorry, I think Mary Beth about Mallet Drive. So if you guys, can you see Mallet Drive? I mean, no real changes to the Mallet Drive project, except that I identified 6 locations where we might consider putting down traffic calming installations. These are about 500 feet apart, so that they're really calming the corridor quite a lot. There was a question about whether stop signs could be used to calm traffic. And the MUTCD is quite explicit in saying you should not use stop signs for traffic calming. There are other things to use for traffic calming, and you don't want to dilute the effectiveness of traffic control devices by using them inappropriately. And so at Mallet Drive, I designed, you've got all 6 locations mapped out. I included information about installation to help your DPW if I'm not available or around when installation happens. This is the basic design that I'm proposing. There's about 10 to 15 feet between these posts going this way, and these are just set up hard against the sidewalk, center line, and then at the very edge of pavement. If you wanted to save some money, you could remove the second row and just go with a single row. I think that you get more benefit by having the double row. It creates more of a gateway, a little bit more friction. But the cost, which is the other thing I was going to show you, is a little bit higher when you use all of them. But again, this was rendered into the exact same format, and I guess I should have called out that I added installation notes for each of the projects to help provide guidance about what should happen when you're actually installing them, again, if I'm not there. And then quickly, this is, are you guys seeing a spreadsheet at this time? Okay, where is it? There it is. So this is just a document that I can upload, or we can get into that folder. It provides a link to the document I just showed you. a little description of the project. And then, so it talks about the number of posts in the plan. Basically, what I do when I estimate quantities is I look at what I designed, and then I try to guess like how many posts are going to get destroyed over the life of the installation. And so in total, I spec'd 18 extra white posts, and it looks like 19 extra yellow posts. Yellow posts get a lot of abuse because of where they are on the road. They're a little bit more centered. I estimate cost at about $60, which is a little probably on the high side, but if you factor in shipping, that's probably not an inappropriate number. So for example, Main Street and Monument Place would require about $1,620 in flex post costs. Mallet is actually probably the high water mark because of the number of posts it used, but you can almost cut that number in half if we reduce the number of flex posts that we use on the gateways. If you did them as designed, the total number is just shy of $10,000, or it's $9,195, $9,200. And there are tweaks that we could make to bring costs down if you wanted me to explore that. Speed bumps are pretty much $100 a pop, but this stuff can all be sourced from a main vendor, and so it helps with shipping a little bit. And if necessary, it's a drive up to Bangor to get the materials. So that's what I did at the behest of the committee for today. And as Vanessa said, I mean, this is in process, so tweaks to the designs can be made. Tweaks to quantities required for installation can be made. I'm happy to answer any questions, but this is what I have done.
Jim, can I ask a quick question? How many projects was that? I'm sorry, I got lost there for a second.
4.
4 projects. All right, thank you.
So that was the ones we talked about. So 2 on Main Street, Monument Place and Elm, Mallet Drive for the full length, and 4 road. And what I did is I mean, 4 roads, I guess, worth looking at because we didn't actually. 4 road had probably some changes that you guys hadn't seen. Geez, here it is. But just 2 seconds. Get the. So, are you seeing Foreside Road? There we go. It should be now.
Yeah.
Yep. Make sure I'm looking at the right window here. Oh, that's the wrong window. That one. There it is. Okay, sorry. So the biggest change to Foreside is last time we talked about doing a couple of gateway enhancements with flex posts that may be the first, the westernmost and easternmost crosswalks. The second crosswalk already has an RRFB, but if you did gateways on either end of this, you'd certainly be sending a message to drivers that there was a contextual change here. Then, as per what we did at Mallet Drive, I proposed a number of freestanding gateways on the approach to this area. You do have a Foreign Legion, an American Legion right here too. These are about 500 feet apart. Same design as we used on Mallet. Currently speccing 6 posts per installation, but again, that could be dropped to 3. And the idea was that we would completely calm the corridor from the intersection with Middlesex to just beyond the playing fields. And I figured that was a good place to stop, but it wouldn't be hard to replicate and continue this sort of treatment further down the road if you wanted. Speed limit on this road is under DOT. It can go up to 30. It can go up to 40. It's currently 35. I have to double check. It's right here.
That's great.
It's I talked a little bit about the project section. The chief, thank you for sending on that the speed data, because that was very interesting to see. This is a location at which about half the drivers on average exceed the speed limit during the week-long study period. So I averaged the daily average. The range goes from about 24% on a Sunday when everyone's really compliant with the speed limit to, for some reason, 61% of the drivers going through by those playing fields were speeding on Wednesday. So I don't know what's going on Wednesday, but people are going hot in that area through there. Yeah, the speed limit's 35. But so that's what that's the project that probably saw the biggest kind of set of revisions because I added a bunch of elements. But happy to answer more questions. And then, or I could talk about next steps for you guys.
Any questions?
I'll talk about next steps for you guys. So the next step for you guys is to review those. Let me know if they work or if you want to make any changes to them. We finalize them, and then they go on to your town manager or select board. They get passed in a way that records them, or they get approved in a way that is recorded in an official fashion. Then you can send them on to Maine DOT. The regional engineer will look at them, and he might have a little, or she might have a little bit of back and forth. We make additional changes, and then we're clear for install. And once we get approval from the regional engineer, that's when we really lean into Maine DOT and say, "Hey, can you hook us up with some flex posts?"
Can I ask a clarifying question about the DOT approval process? Is that just for the state roads or is that for all roads?
Just state roads.
Right. So we could do this on our own road with our own materials without jumping through a bunch of hoops. If we had that.
That is correct. You guys have the ability to do some of this stuff unilaterally as long as it's not a state aid road. I think, and I forget, Mallet might be a state aid road, but I'd have to double check. Maybe it's not. I can tell you because it's in the plan that I sent you. I made a note of all those contextual elements. But assuming it's not, yes, you can do stuff.
Well, yeah. What's a state aid road mean?
It means that you get money from the Maine DOT to maintain it.
Middlesex, my knowledge is state aid, but this side is not.
Well, Middlesex isn't Middlesex a marked route too? So anything that's a marked route is absolutely a state aid road. But then there's a whole other class of roads that the DOT helps some communities maintain. Let me double check on Mallet.
How do we find out if the road is state aid?
On the Maine DOT website.
It's in the proposal. I mean, I checked. So Mallet Drive is a townway. So if it is listed as a townway, that means it's you guys alone. So you don't have to worry about Maine DOT. So Mallet Drive, you guys have authority over. There is a website that the DOT maintains that has road information on pretty much every road in the state, and that's what I go to get information about how the DOT contextualizes the road, what the maximum speed limit permitted on it is, what the traffic count is, and whose jurisdiction the road falls under. And I'm happy to share that they're pretty handy resource. That's also where I get my crash data. DOT has another website dedicated to tracking crashes, and it's not perfect, but it's pretty good.
Jim, well, while we move on to the next portion, could you get clarity on Mallet and Forsyth on whether those are state aid or not? Is that easy to do quickly?
Just said Mallet isn't.
Okay.
Yeah, Mallet's not state aid. And Four Road, like I said, when I do the analysis of the road in the here we go. So Forsyth Road is a is a townway with an approximate ADT of 2304, which aligns with count data provided by Topsham Police. It was actually pretty cool to compare the count data that the chief generated with the speed study, and it perfectly matched the main DOTs, which was instructive and helpful for me to know that there is, there's accuracy in that main DOT data. So, yep, it's a local road. So Forside and Mallet are both under your jurisdiction.
Thank you. Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the process for how a quick build moves forward from a traffic complaint to can we do something about this to let's do it, let's build it. So everyone can look at their red piece of paper in front of them. This is one page spread from the plan that I'm gonna do a quick run through, but I wanted to get to the real meat and potatoes. Those are like the sections that I printed out for you all, kind of the back half of the plan, or back pages from the back half of the plan. So the idea that I have seen some other communities do, North Vermont, Orlando, Florida, they have a special form that any citizen or member of the community can use to request that a quick build happens, or to submit an idea for one. I didn't want to create a super onerous new form process. I saw you already had a traffic complaint form on your website. So I thought we could just do maybe some tweaks to that form and say, do you have an idea for this? See the quick build guide, which is you don't have it in front of you, but it's in the plan. It'll be like that menu that Jim had showed a few meetings ago, all the different kinds of quick builds you might do. And then so anyone can say, hey, I've seen this going on, I have this idea. It would get reviewed by the police department and public works together to see if it might be feasible. If it's not already on our big list of 40 projects or so in the implementation matrix, then they could forward that along to the bike ped committee to consider passing along to the select board or then moving on to the main DOT. So I'm not gonna read this, but I just kind of talked through the process. So it would be, there's a staff preliminary review. If it passes that, it goes to the bike ped committee. If it passes that, it goes to the select board. And if the select board agrees, then the town manager authorizes the public works department to work on finalizing the design, at which point it goes forward to main DOT. So that's kind of how exactly, if it's a DOT project. If it's not a DOT project, then he goes and installs the flex post, paints the crosswalk, does whatever he needs.
So this is part of the plan you're
Part of the
proposing.
plan, exactly, yeah.
Cool.
Any thoughts, questions, concerns? Great.
I'll just throw in that Portland has adopted a similar kind of process where there is actually a request that citizens can make of the city that uses a form kind of like what Sarah's describing, and then they have to go through a few procedural hoops. But this is being done more and more often.
Clarifying question for Chief.
Do we have an existing traffic complaint form on our website?
Yeah, I've never seen anybody,
I was gonna say, does anyone use it?
no.
Okay, I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
There's also one that was called like a road/miscellaneous complaint form. I
Oh,
wonder
I've
if we
seen
want
that
to
one.
combine
I've seen that one on the
them.
public works page.
Maybe not,
Yeah.
but I figured that's more for like, there's a pothole or there's a tree branch, kind of minor kind of thing.
So usually I'll go online, they just call me directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
Who notifies the abutters and signage? Is that all the town manager or the public works responsibility, or?
Yeah, I think that, well, I was envisioning like probably a letters request right now, whoever those go through, planning department, or.
Well, I think you have it in here that there is signage installation, so part of the work of bike and ped committee is your outreach, right? So if you're doing outreach about it, like it shouldn't just be turn it over to public works and walk away. There's needs to be the coordination of like letting people know it's happening. And then the signage, you've got it written in here in this text that, you know, you can use a yard sign, and maybe there's a QR code, a way for people to get information about what's going on.
Provide feedback.
But I think if you're saying, if it's going into an intersection, are we doing 500-foot of butters? That's not referenced in here. If you think that that's something you want to do, it could be built in here. I think it is a broader communication strategy than just the immediate butters, in my personal
Well,
opinion.
yeah, I was just trying to understand who's responsible. So you're saying that that notification comes from Bike Ed?
I think it's always coming out of the town office, but this is communication in coordination. So your committee is it's an ongoing committee, and I'm sure that you will be doing. Are you not an ongoing committee?
We're an ad hoc committee.
Ad hoc, okay, well. Most times they're not, but maybe this is when you become a real one, I'm not sure, but. Or maybe you ad hoc.
We're just ad hoc.
Maybe you ad hoc for,
Really
you
ad
know, for this, you know, the warm weather only, I don't know. Those are bigger leadership decisions, but it seems like communications all has to flow out of town.
Yeah.
Or
I would think,
We would do all the abutter notifications if they were required.
if they're required,
Yeah.
I would think, yeah, I was gonna say, I think it would be like probably any municipal construction, like road paving, anything where anyone who's gonna be impacted, the town would let them know, right? Probably it's like a standard procedure there.
I'm afraid to tell you, I don't know the details. I know there are certain, there's certain qualifications that put you on a butters notification list. I'm not sure I know 100% what those are outside of the planning board.
I'm not recommending you go through building in a requirement for a butters notification. I think it's just part of general town communications that you have an initiative and you're.
I think you're talking, if I can just, I think you're talking more about a community outreach and not necessarily a notification of the butters, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Like public education.
Right.
Outreach.
Marketing and.
Yep. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and this be future, not the current ones. The 4 projects that we've been talking about.
You should be coordinating your 4 projects, the communications for sure.
According to this.
Yeah, I would think we definitely wanna be crafting some communications for the demo projects. That's how we can build some buy-in.
Yeah, I think town hall or whoever is in charge of town communications is drafting a press release, probably something that's going out on like your multiple channels when you're ready to do this thing. You might do it in advance. You might do a communications piece as you're wrapping up this work. And once you have some actual dates when you know you're going forward with installation, I think the communication piece is a big part of how you're going to let people know what you're doing, why you're doing it, that it may be uncomfortable. You're gonna learn things, it's a humble process. You may not like what you learn and then you may redo it. So that's just a whole part of that ongoing communication strategy.
It's the way the town handled tech road, so
Mm-hmm.
offering up a group meeting and so
Yeah.
forth, so I'm sure that's what they follow.
And ultimately, I mean, when this goes in front of the select board, that's when you want a lot of your public comment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just a little bit of like, so Jim was around, we started, I think part of the getting DOT comfortable with these processes, Jim, what is this, like 15 years ago? There was like public meetings and Jim is a singer, so he sang at it. I'll always remember that one.
I don't remember that one.
In North Yarmouth, you know, the DOT commended us even recently about it, that if you're reaching out and you are doing the education, you're creating a space for people to talk about it, you've collected your data, you did the test, collect your data, you communicate again, then that's the way for success. And so that's the hope here.
Well, yeah, and chiming in on the normal process, like just like Vanessa said, in my experience, these go best if you simply notify people in the normal way that the town notifies people about road projects. You let it happen, and you collect the feedback in the survey tool that you're creating and via other avenues. You don't want to open it up to like, community project tweaking. You guys are, have the power to do that. You should kind of like, take ownership of this is what we'd like to see. Let the people know that it's going to happen, but this is a planning exercise, and if you sell it as a planning exercise that is temporary, that will be studied, you avoid having people up front like just go nuts and say that this is a bad idea, it's going to be unsafe or whatever. And bear in mind that when people are saying things like it's going to be unsafe, they are they're speaking in usually a fairly uninformed fashion. So it's best to like do the project, collect the data, and see what the actual objective data that you've collected has to say.
Thanks, Tim. So real quick, I just wanted to show you the updated version of the form. It's in the plan. I'm gonna send this PDF around via email. I'll make sure it's distributed, and I'll make sure it's uploaded to the Google Drive so you all can review it. But this whole plan in detail before the next meeting. But this form it's very simple. It's location, nature of complaints. Those are what the form already says, the date that it's submitted. This is the new field that I'm suggesting. So it would have a link to the quick build guide, which is in the plan, and they can check a box. These all correspond to that menu of quick build options. So
the idea is to give whoever is filing the complaint an opportunity to tell you how it should be fixed.
exactly, yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to like their idea.
Oh yeah, no, I was just wondering. I was wondering if that was the approach.
It might say it anyways, but this is giving it a formal process.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I thought the complaint would be received and the determination on what would work best would be based on data and made by the people that are familiar with it.
Well, it definitely will be that too, but I think this is starting to, because you're laying out a palette of options with a visual and an explanation, it may help people to articulate what they think a solution could be. So you're just kind of getting like, because it's one directional until you have an actual conversation with someone, it just helps you to see what direction you think they might be going in.
You might say, oh, what you did on Mallet Drive, I want you to do that on my road.
Gotcha.
Well, then it's not just a complaint. It's an idea.
It's
a
starting
thought
to
process.
work toward a solution.
A solution as opposed to just complaining.
But you may then evaluate it and say we need like 6 different things.
Yeah.
Like it may need to be parking center line, crosswalk, there's no landing. Or no way this doesn't work and here's why.
People like.
Okay,
Well, I think it's interesting because it may also help articulate issues that they're unable to otherwise articulate. Like they might say people are driving too fast or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, what is there a deeper issue that we can address? And we understand that by what they think they're identifying as a solution. I guess is that something that other towns have used and seen a success with? Do you know? Getting some of that, because I mean I like enabling people to think independently and come up with their own ideas, and then if we could say, yeah, that's great, we're gonna, or yeah, that we can't do that for this reason, this works better. But do you have any experience with other towns using that?
I don't personally, but in looking at other examples, of what's out there, Burlington, Vermont, for example, they have a whole process where they have a permit that they'll issue for if there's a community group that comes forward with a proposal and they want to buy the materials, they can install it themselves. I thought that was way too much for first go at this. It seems like there might be some liabilities there that we're not quite ready to get into. But yeah.
Now, Mary Beth, go buy your stop sign for Mount Drive, okay?
And the idea is that they're temporary, right? So in Burlington, those are like a 1 to 3 days. So it's not like a But that's the first step, is you do it, a couple days, and then it might be a couple weeks, that might be a couple months.
Just to sort of build on what Matt said maybe a little bit, the idea, I think part of this work is sort of expanding people's idea of what's possible. And so, hey, like saying like, look at these different things that we can do. It's like, and there's a little education piece built in, which is
It also expands the ownership of problems and solutions.
Mhm.
I didn't see a question if there was a box on there, like, do you want to be contacted by? You know, sometimes somebody just wants to make a complaint, but maybe sometimes somebody actually wants to explain their
Yes.
thoughts.
So there is, on the current form, it's provide your contact information if you would like a follow-up.
Right.
So I left it the same, enter the information below if you wish to follow up. Officer. You can tweak that language.
How about something about, have you talked to your neighbors about this? Just,
Yeah.
we get a lot of complaints that are just one person, and then if we go to address that, everybody else is like, what the hell? What the heck are you doing, you know? So
Yeah,
maybe something to effective. Who else is on board?
I like that.
That's a good one.
I'd like to,
I will say that Portland, I think, like, works with neighborhood associations, not with individuals for the most part. I mean, an individual complaint or comment is, noted, registered, but it's usually a constituency that comes together in some kind of community group that reaches out to get a quick build done in the city.
Great. Okay, so just to reiterate, yes, there's the whole menu of options after this. I'm going to email this around. I can breeze quickly through the plan framework next. Sorry to make everybody dizzy by scrolling through this plan.
Or just whispering, it feels like a sort of Christmas, cause you're getting a sneak
Red and
peek,
green,
but it's
yeah.
not, it hasn't hit like
Yeah.
90% design yet, so there's still formatting, tweaking and typing that's still gonna come.
So here's the outline. Well, we can start there, the table of contents, maybe that's a good overview. So we have the vision and goals, then we talk about what are complete streets. We talk a little bit about Vision Zero and how that influences our approach to complete streets. What makes a crash severe, that kind of builds on the Vision Zero, and then the community engagement that's done as part of this project. Then there's a section where we review the existing conditions data, survey results, crash data, speed data, demographic data from the census. And then I have a few maps that I've started drafting that I would like to start getting some feedback on. Then we get into that quick build guide that I was just kind of flashing through with the how does the traffic complaint move forward, what is quick build, and then all the different menu of options. And then the last section is the implementation section where we have those priority corridors prioritized in a matrix scored based on the crashes, the speed data, all that stuff. Excuse me. So. Then, and then the appendix that will have the ordinance recommendations that Vanessa started working on. That'll have the policy itself, and it will have Jim's recommendations for those for site specific that are fully built out. So I'll just scroll through this very quickly again. So we have the complete streets principles. So what is guiding complete streets policy? Vision Zero, the goal is 0 deaths and 0 severe injuries. So the two main ways to do that are slow vehicles down and make sure you're protecting the people who are most vulnerable, which are cyclists and pedestrians. You can see that the faster a car is driving, the less likely it is for a pedestrian to survive a crash. And that speeding is a primary cause in fatal crashes, about 1 in 4 a year. And that's even if you're in a vehicle, your risk of fatality increases significantly if speed is a factor. So again, this is an overview of the community engagement that we did as part of this project or are going to do. So the survey, the public meetings, the lunch and learn that we're creating materials for with Midcoast Hospital, the sidewalks as a part of the demonstration project, and the town crier website, social media, stickers, all that good stuff. So then, like I said, this existing conditions section kind of just is an overview of the survey results. It lists out what people's top concerns are and where people complain about lack of sidewalk, where people complain about lack of visibility, lack of crossing. What were they doing with that complaint? Is it a walking, biking, driving complaint? Is it a high or low concern? And then where people were complaining about people speeding, people, driving recklessly, all that stuff. And then as you can see here, crashes have been on the rise in the past 5 years. And although pedestrians and cyclists are a very small share of all crashes, they make up a much larger share of those fatal and severe crashes. So I'm gonna just kind of skip ahead in the interest of time. This is an overview of that speed data. There's some scary numbers in there, and they're gonna definitely help support the case for why you might want to try quick builds in certain places or others. This is an overview of where the people who rely more on walking and biking as a means of transportation live. So that's people who are living below poverty, who do not have a vehicle available, who are over a certain age, or under a certain age. So this is the safe routes to school map. This was made using about a 1 mile walking distance from each school. So again, I invite your comments if you spend some time, look at this, see if you think there's any key areas that I am missing or that shouldn't be considered. I extended this out a bit past the mile radius to get to the Forsyth Road rec fields, because I figured that was somewhere that people were walking after school perhaps. If that's not the case though, definitely let me know.
No, the bus drops kids, the late bus drops kids right at the intersection of the Elm and Forsyth, so they're always walking.
Okay,
So that was good guess.
awesome.
And the library's there.
In the library.
Yeah.
And then this is a bike head route map. So the way I created this was using the Strava data that showed where there's a lot of activity happening. I also found some planned routes as a part of the Casco Bay Trail. Those are bike routes, I believe. They're shown with the dashed line. And anywhere where it's safe to walk, I'm assuming is pretty safe to bike as well. So I have bike routes and then I have pedestrian and bike routes. So again, if you think that I'm off, I would love feedback on this once you all get a chance to spend a little more time with it. This map I haven't had a chance to work on yet. This is going to be the priority tree planting map, which we can talk more about maybe next meeting once I take a first pass at it. Then we get into that quick build section that we already dove into, and then so I'm going to skip ahead to the last section, which is the implementation. So these are those priority corridors where we kept seeing problem areas come up in the survey results or in the speed data. So there's 10 of them. And these are in front of you. Yep, the blue packets. So the scoring criteria scores based on injury crashes, any mode of travel. So whether you're walking, biking, driving, if someone is injured. The next criteria is any severity of a crash involving a bicyclist or pedestrian. The speed data, which we don't have for all the sites, so as we continue collecting that, I'll continue updating the scores.
Some of the spots, just it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Because 196, too many lanes, so we can't really
Yep.
get anything more than 2 lanes is gonna be an issue for us. So.
For collecting data, chief?
Yeah, the box is just, they have limitations. They can get 2 lanes, but they're gonna get all these spots.
Thank you.
We looked at them after the last meeting. I was looking at it with the traffic safety officer, we just, it's gonna be tough.
Okay.
I can get you a list of the ones that we can do, I just don't have a rate.
Yeah, that's all right. We can put our heads together on how to approach that then. And then the last three are whether or not there was a public comment, so that's using the survey or in the future, that would be include that traffic complete form. Whether or not it's on the bike ped route, whether or not it's on the safe route to school. So again, not fully complete yet, these diagrams are still in progress, they're gonna have more details, they're gonna have road names, they're kind of there as placeholders for the time being. But there's a table with each of the locations that we've discussed and a score for them. And for the ones where we have the fleshed out diagrams from Jim, those will be included as an appendix. Any questions? I know that was a lot of information to take in a short amount of
So
time.
Sarah, was your goal tonight orientation? We're gonna keep working on layout, like tightening things up, and then your release to the committee on a certain date? Like is that,
I think that,
are you ready for them to get into it?
I think so, yeah, my plan was to send a PDF around for you all to review in detail and then I think take comments at the next meeting. So.
Do you want, well, maybe we should talk a little bit more about how best to get comments all gathered cohesively together. Yeah, we do that. How many pages is it?
It's
printed? 70.
So we could send around an Adobe PDF or upload it to Google and comment on a document.
How have you recently done commenting on a publication? I mean, I know what we did 5 years ago, but that software, I'm not sure if it exists or we don't
How did you do the last one?
I think
Didn't you just do one? Or
in a PDF letter.
Oh, yeah, that was a Word document in
Yeah.
Google.
So this
Or
one,
letter.
this one's now in design, it's coming out as a PDF. Can you make a all access
I
PDF?
think that you can do it the same way in Google. I'll double check and I can send around instructions on how to comment. I send the PDF around.
Yeah, I think if it's spelling or grammar, don't comment on it. This will, those things will catch. And if it's like you're boosting something, don't comment it, just bring that to the committee. But like keep the comments really to the thing where you're looking for a change. And if it's awkward text or you don't understand it, and you think you have a better way of saying it, like actually put that into the comments. So, and you can spell that out for how to do the commenting. Do you want to talk a little bit about the zoning ordinance part too?
Yes.
Can I just, I'm sorry, can I just ask a quick question about this? It caught my eye, like the top 6 issue places are high priorities. Every single one of them was off of Main Street. Have you ever seen anything where you looked at that more like in totality, like you look at Main Street as one issue? Have you ever done anything like this?
Can you say that in a different way?
Maybe.
Can you?
Not sure I understand what I'm trying to say. But if you go,
Should explore the whole corridor instead
Well,
of each individual.
I'm just wondering at what point when you say number 1 is Main Street, number 2 is Main Street, all the way down to number 6. At what point do you say maybe we should look at Main Street in whole?
Well, I think the point is that you could, and you absolutely could. You could say I'm going to do the whole corridor. But if you didn't have the bandwidth to do the whole corridor, you at least know you have 6 discrete things.
No, it was just more for my curiosity.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's a good point. When we talked about formatting and grouping, like how we were going to kind of bucket them together, it seemed like the best way to do it was by a corridor. So you've got a long stretch and then you have very discrete locations. So I think if you want to do all of them, then that's a decision. And so you would, as the committee would say, we want to do all of them, and take that to the select board and see how you do.
But I think
Where there's this.
one just thought on that is I think is interesting is I wonder if doing some of these will influence others. I mean, I think there has to be some proximity. I don't know that doing something down at Elm Street is going to influence 196, obviously, but some of the ones that are closer together, it might be kind of interesting to see if we work on one location, if it improves a nearby location. I don't, again, I don't know that it will, and I think certainly there has to be some proximity. You're not going to get something half a mile away, but could be interesting.
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of times if you have people taking a turn really fast, if you put a curb extension on, you might find people aren't speeding down that road anymore.
Right,
That's a whole
yeah, I would
other
imagine
realm.
we would, doing that Elm Street thing, we're
Yeah.
gonna get benefit down
Exactly.
Elm Street.
Mhm.
Yeah, because people aren't just keeping it rolling the turn, yeah.
Right,
And I assume once we do these, we'll track some data.
yes.
Exactly, yeah, you'll wanna record before and after to see if it's working. Absolutely. Any other questions?
It's pretty.
Right.
Thank you.
I'm ready to talk
Yeah,
about
I'm
ordinances. if
sorry.
you want.
Okay.
I had a question and I forgot it because.
Yeah, it's my fault again.
It's always
Fair enough.
Can we, so can we have an understanding of timing? If we're saying by the next meeting, but you want comments prior to that, when do you need them by and when will they be posted so that we can start working on comments? I think
I was
those
gonna
are
ask a
two
similar question.
key questions.
Yeah, so I think I will send this out tomorrow. And then if I can, you can comment up until the next meeting. So if we're meeting in 2 weeks, 2 weeks. If we're meeting-
So is your point at the next meeting that you wanna do discussion about comments and decision making?
Exactly.
And then that's the cap of all the edits, and then you'll produce a final draft. Okay.
And were we, did we have a next meeting in
So,
2 weeks?
I don't know if, maybe we should just have that conversation right now about upcoming meetings. So today's June 8th. Our next scheduled meeting is not till July 13th, which is far out.
Yeah.
It seems like we should probably do, so we've got 22nd and got a bunch of Mondays. That's just the way the calendar falls, is that we're the second Monday, so it seems like we want at least one meeting between today, June 8th, and July 13th. Maybe before we talk about that, I guess I just wanna ask people, so just in terms of being efficient, Sarah sends us something tomorrow. We go and we have a couple of weeks to look at it at home and sort of go through it, and then we come together and talk about it, and we comment on it, and then we come together and talk about it. Do we
My
wanna-
hope is Sarah's gonna give you one PDF that everyone can see each other's comments on.
Right.
That's
Right.
the goal, so that you'll have a sense of what your fellow committee members are thinking as they're doing their homework.
So I guess maybe one question is, do we wanna meet maybe in 2 weeks without these folks and sort of consolidate our thinking and then have a meeting with them?
Do you think you're gonna have that many edits?
I'm like a little bit like, whoa, this is a lot, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I
So I guess
feel,
I'm asking a process question.
I feel okay about, what Vanessa proposed of just us making comments, you see what other people have commented. But that's just,
If we were to meet to discuss what we had made for comments, I'm not sure what the outcome would be. Like. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if we're putting comments that are visible in the document, is there other work we need to do? For an outcome at the next meeting that needs to be done, because we've already done the comments, like why would we meet? What are some of those? Like what is your comment?
Yeah, to sort of maybe hash stuff out, or I guess I don't know how the
I
comments are
think
gonna
you
go.
guys should do it with us here, like, I
Yeah.
think that, I don't see there being substantive comments that we can't help you resolve in an hour and a half.
Okay.
And I can be honest, 2 weeks sounds like a long time, but it's not really a long time when you're talking about a document like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe, and
Besides-
the next couple weeks are pretty busy,
I would-
actually.
I would give yourself plenty of time.
And we're not reviewing it for like data accuracy, it's really more like formatting and clarity, so. you know, You're doing the hard work, we're gonna do it. Right. I'm not averse to it.
So if we did, so 2 weeks from today is June 22nd. 3 weeks from today is June 29th. I think I personally, I'm heading out of town on June 30th and I'm gonna be gone for a bit. So June 29th would be like the last day I could do for a little while.
I can't do the 22nd or 29th, I'm traveling, but, I'm just one person.
So do you think we should meet before the next scheduled meeting with us?
Well, I think that's the other thing that's gonna happen with all of the what do you call these vacations. Like right now, we're in that zone that it's gonna be hard to find a meeting anyway, so we
Yeah.
should just start saying which Mondays people can and can't do. And you're gonna be where you're gonna be, cause
Yeah.
like I already am like, no, 22nd, 29th, not happening.
Yeah.
Either. So.
But do we, I'm just still trying to zone in on the purpose of the meeting. So if we've already.
I don't think we
commented,
need
we don't-
one before.
I think-
Okay, so we don't need one.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
But that leaves us with
You
the
just gotta do your
22nd or
homework.
the 29th. To then have a meeting before the 13th.
Right, and that's why I'm asking, like, what was the purpose of it?
I think if I'm hearing this correctly, you don't think we need a meeting before the 13th.
I don't
before
think
the
you're gonna
next
find a date that's gonna work, is actually what I'm trying to say, because you need probably 2 weeks to read it, and we're already. Like getting into the land of close to the 4th of July, so vacation schedules. It's all gonna start to kick in, so.
But
I have
we
a-
only,
So I guess I'm just concerned about losing momentum, you know, over 5 weeks between now and the 13th of July. I feel like we have a little bit of momentum right now, and it would be nice to sustain
So
that.
I have a procedural question. I think this is the case, but the goal would be at that July 13th meeting that, or maybe at some point, that we as a committee will we vote to basically adopt the plan and send it to select board for review? Is that, so like what's the, I guess what's the,
What's the-
I'll go through it again, so you
Yep.
need to spend about 1 to 2 weeks at least, like. Some of you are more busy than others, you need time to review the document. You're gonna review the state, like you're all gonna be working on the same document, same PDF, you're gonna drop your comments into it. Then we're gonna come back in a room and process those together. And we're gonna see your comments and we'll probably see them and be like, that's easy, that's easy, that's easy, we need to talk about these 5 things. So we'll move you through those decision making, then Sarah's gonna make final edits. And then you're gonna get a final draft. And that's the one you'll vote on for
Okay.
acceptance as a committee or endorsement and send it off.
Which would be in August.
right, so that's where next
Okay.
week would be good.
yeah, that's what, so, because that was my thought was, in that case, I don't know that we need an extra meeting before July 13th. If we were going to vote on July 13th, like, we reviewed it, we discussed everything, now we need to make a vote that, like, we want to finalize it, then I might think otherwise, but if we basically are just having more of a discussion, going through any critical issues, and then it gets finalized and we vote on it, and then I would say we could probably do the 13th, maybe another meeting after that, and then the August meeting would be my thought.
The other would be straw poll vote on who's available the end of June to do a Monday. So then, because Sarah, you're available. I don't think you're gonna get into something that she can't tease out, like you can tease out without me. I'm not as critical for the next step. So if it's sort of up to you if there's anyone available to do that last week of June.
Can we just, June 29th, just as
Which is a Monday.
availability, you know, Lori said she's not.
Yeah, I'm generally available except for like the week of the 4th of July.
So that is actually so the 4th is a Saturday, so it's the Monday. 4th of
Yeah,
July.
sorry, I should say I think it's like July 1st through the 6th that so I can do the 29th. Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna suggest,
Not
I mean, I guess
together.
just to reiterate, my concern is that we lose momentum that we have going. So, you know, if things are 5 weeks out, it's like, oh, we'll do that
Later.
in the 4th of July week, but I'm on vacation. Um,
And it's both the policy and the plan, or are we just focusing on
All of it,
everything?
everything.
okay, so I think we have a tentative plan right now to meet on June 29th, and then to stick with our normal regular meeting, which would be July 13th. Is that where we're at the moment?
Yeah, for you available, I won't be the 29th.
It's looking like I am.
It's on sad.
It's like-
I couldn't come up with an excuse. Yeah.
That's reassuring.
Do you think we need an hour, or should we book an hour and a half?
I think you should book an hour and a half and we should be efficient.
Yeah,
And if, we can do it in less than an hour and a half, we'll do.
Alright, sounds like.
So-
good.
And then for the piece that that I'm working on, which is advisory, so I'll be putting together a very, very brief one-pager memo with some references to sections of the ordinance that I think need slight adjustment in your regular ordinances to just reflect that there is a complete streets policy and that in design that you're gonna be cognizant of that, context sensitive. The other piece that I'll be giving you is in the high level is that in your ordinances, you really only have 7 street types, and that's not enough. When you go from very small private road and 250 trips a day to big. And that language in your ordinance, like around the street typologies, is it's decades old, focused on average daily trips, and the ADTs and not context. So it's ADTs and traffic speed. So it's 25, but there's not very many streets where it's 25 and then it jumps straight to 40. So the very simple policy recommendation with the drafting the memo is going to be, here's a suite of street typologies that could fit into your ordinance that broaden that range of choices. So that if you are doing, and this is really applying a lot to the new construction. So if you have a new neighborhood built and there's 30 new homes, we're not jumping to a 40-mile-an-hour design street. That we can do something that's a little bit narrower and slower flow and encouraging of slow streets. And there's a policy, not policy, there's design standards that you can choose from to get to that. And up till now, historically, you've seen some of those smaller profile roads, but only as they've been, people have brought forward plan unit developments. So that's going to be a memo. We're going to give you some street typologies, and that can be, it can live alone, stand alone. You can review it and say, this looks like a good idea. We're going to ship that off to select board and planning board and let them chew on it. There's a lot going on with your other ordinance work, so that's about as deep as I think we need to take that.
I'm just gonna pause just for a second. So what you're describing is actually town ordinance, so.
You
code-
have this, yep, in Eco 360.
Okay, so if you-
Street design ordinance, you have a site plan, you have subdivision. Those are the ones. So some of it is just referencing that you're gonna be context sensitive. You're gonna think of, and the most substantial part is the table of dimensions that go with streets. And they are, it just needs an update. It's
More
it
fine grained.
it needs to be like more of a modern era. So it's a little too narrow focus.
And this already exists.
Yeah.
Are you smiling?
This is count.
I'm waiting for Assistant Town Manager to talk to our planning folks.
We talked, we're of a similar mindset, I think.
Does it?
Like Ren. It's just gonna go on in the stack of things for modernizing, but I'm kind of more of.
No, I mean, a lot of that's underway, we talked, a lot of that's under. Or part of a process that it will probably be fleshed out.
Sarah. When you were going through everything, there were a couple places where you said you still had work to do.
Yep.
Is that gonna be done in the thing you're gonna post tomorrow?
Yeah, I think maybe end of the week is more realistic for me to have it all finished by, but
So is it better to wait till the end of the week to post it so we can then start with? I'm just worried about
that's a good point.
version control.
Totally. Yep, yeah, how about I'll take my time to tighten everything up, like the tree canopy map that I said I hadn't quite finished yet. Getting the labels on all these diagrams, and then I'll send it out once I have it nice and clean and.
So you'll send out a notice to all of us that it's posted on the, or.
On the Google Drive, yeah, I'll send
Yeah,
it.
fair, let Brian know or something and then.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and then we'll share it.
Great.
Yeah, we want one thing that we all can see each
right.
other's comments.
Agreed, yeah.
It's easy enough.
Yeah, great point. Okay. Are we ready to talk about policy next? Any other questions about the ordinance work before we move on? Okay.
13 minutes.
Here we go.
Vision.
Get virtual.
So. Did anybody spend some time with this and have any thoughts that we didn't drop into the Google Doc?
So were we supposed to do that? I'm
Oh, I
sorry.
didn't, okay.
I didn't do that. I didn't look at it.
That's okay. If we want,
He's gonna frame this.
I can send it around again and you can all review it at the same time. I can put this into the document format and we can review it at the same time. If that makes sense.
I gotta be honest, this is the first, maybe I missed something, but this is the first time I've seen this. So
Okay.
maybe it would be helpful for me.
We looked at this last.
We looked at this lesson.
You
Is this the same one?
Same one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. I thought this was a revised.
There's notes here.
I was like, sorry, carry on.
I
It's
just
just
I
policy
put
instead of
chapter
ordinance.
186. Okay.
Oh, did it say ordinance before?
It did,
No.
yeah,
That's policy.
Oh.
Seemed like that was probably,
Well, that seems
It's-
like that.
in my opinion, starting with a policy and then if it works, like it's easier to make changes before it's an ordinance, so that would be my recommendation. Start with the
that
policy.
Yeah.
Document
Yeah,
that's
so now-
easier to make changes.
Okay,
So it's an iterative.
So are you looking for comments right now?
Do you wanna go through what you changed, so they know?
that was really the only change that I made. The other comment that I received last time was to add a definition for Green Street.
Yeah.
And then, I was gonna make it very clear where it did and did not apply, make sure there's no confusion there. So if there's no other comments,
So the only thing I remember last time was a lot of concern about the number of shalls.
Yeah, that's
In
what I.
here, and I continue to see a lot of shalls, and I probably understand the
Yeah.
potential costs associated with that. I'm just wondering, should that be softened, given that it's a policy and not an ordinance?
I misunderstood some of this. I wish I would have had time to look at this. Again,
Town is gonna have problems with all the shells.
I think so, yeah, I think so.
So,
Okay.
And it does no harm if it's a policy, it does no harm to say should or where possible, or, you know. If it's not.
I think that's ultimately, and that's a good way to say it, right, is what you just explained makes perfect sense. If we end up with an ordinance years down the road, then that's where we end up. To get there though, I think the least invasive procedure
yeah,
and just shoulds, best recommendations, try this, do this. And hey, if all of a sudden, a year into it, we realize that somebody's not playing ball and this needs to have more teeth. Well, then that's something, we can get more stringent if we need to. But again, being very cognizant of why this, in my understanding, wasn't successful the last time, is this type of language.
But can I just want to comment a little bit on that because I think we're all bringing some prior understandings of this process. And so my understanding from that time is that when that was being discussed, I think the town was doing Arbor Ave or Bay Park Road or one of these roads, which is like a suburban road. And the thinking was that, well, if we had a complete streets plan, we would have to do a sidewalk and a bike lane on these places that are low volume roads, and it wouldn't be a cost effective thing to do. That is my understanding of what happened, and I think we should all sort of like update our thinking to that, like complete streets does not mean everybody gets a lane necessarily. Like we have a community with lots of places that are actually like low traffic volume, low speed, where we can do other things like the sort of stuff Jim is showing us. That's like not going to add a lot of cost to a project. It's like some of it's like wildly inexpensive. Like when you get to road stuff. So I think like we should just remember that like we can do things that are, it's not like crazy engineering to get to stuff.
Yeah, those are shoulds.
But does a shall in a policy mean the same as a shall in an ordinance? Cause a policy is different from an ordinance.
I mean, shall is shall, right? It's a different enforcement proceeding, right? But shall is shall.
Can we look at one shall in here and just see, like what is it?
Shall future planning and investment in the transportation system shall prioritize safety.
Where are we?
Accessibility in the first
The
paragraph.
first paragraph.
Accessibility, equity, and mobility for all users. I just like, cause if it's not an ordinance and it doesn't carry the same weight as an ordinance, then the shall doesn't mean anything.
But that doesn't mean it has like no weight. So let's say an employee who's responsible for doing this doesn't do it, it could be the basis for a workplace employment action or something of that sort. So I think, I wonder if we could just choose words that are maybe a little less, I don't wanna defang it, we don't want a paper tiger.
No, you're
Right?
right, but I agree, but in this example, it's not the best example, I'm sure, but it's telling you that you will do all that stuff, and if you don't, there's assumed to be some sort of a consequence.
There certainly, as I'm reading through them, there's some that I think could stay as shall be fine, and then some that should be should, and then some that should be may, and then the private development one, I think is fine the way it's written. It's not a lot of adjustments to your ordinances. So, I wonder if I could think about it this one. Having been a former municipal employee for so long. But I'm carrying on with the point about is policy and not zoning ordinance. A little less leading strength, but.
So the related piece here is the exceptions, right? And we talk about shall.
Yeah.
Must and all that
Yep.
stuff, and whatever the exceptions.
I think the exceptions, from my perspective, that's where the soft language should be. Because you do wanna have, this has robust support behind it, you want them out. You need to have some outs.
So is there a balance there between keeping the more tougher language, shall, must, etc., and the exceptions? Is there?
I think I could go, hearing what I'm hearing, I could go through this document and red line where I would change from a shall to a should, a must to a may. And then have you take another look at it as you're doing your 2-week review. Put your comments on it. Because you want it adopted, Right, you wanna get traction, right, then go tighten it up later. So most towns that did these policies 20 years ago had very weak had strong exception, sorry, the other way around. It was easy to get an exception up. And now as they've had traction and success, they've tightened up their exceptions. That, Jim, that probably sounds on, if you're listening, tracks with what we heard years ago. Like,
I'll throw up another example, 186-7. I can see the public works director not play from this. It says this, he's gotta do a summary, shall present a summary of all transportation improvements. The summary shall include at a minimum linear feet of new improved sidewalk, linear feet of new improved bike lanes. I mean, there's 7 things listed here that you shall kind of break it down by. I just don't know if, how easy, because I've never been public works director, how that is for him to do, to break those things down that way. And then my other question was the following page on letter F. Under coordination, it says the director of public works shall serve as a primary point of accountability for complete streets implementation. So he's accountable if complete streets isn't followed. I don't think the town's gonna like, putting it on the public works director that he's responsible for this. Those are the kind of things I think that people are gonna have pushback on.
I think the first one on performance metrics, those should not be difficult. And then
Seems like we're not doing that much of it.
I think from like, if I ask the public works director in North Yarmouth to give me these stats, pull them out of his head all year.
All right,
It's pretty, they can do that. The other piece behind that is going to be supporting grant funding and pursuit of money. So you want them to be tracking your progress so you can get more money. The public works director being that primary person in charge, I mean, that's really a select board decision.
right.
This is the respectful, it's his, the streets are his, their territory. If you think there is a shared responsibility, I think that would be pretty innovative to say it's gonna be, across. Here's poking you, chief, but if it's across like as a multi-department responsibility,
Right.
that would be pretty darn cool.
I think, Mike, you wanna be in charge? You wanna be responsible?
I got rid of street light, don't wanna go. I think it's something that like you said, we need to spend more time with because,
Yeah.
Like the chief just said, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree that data wouldn't be good to have, but how it's collected and where it lives, might go into a broader,
I think most towns are collecting it as part of their annual reports. So I don't think that's a hard one. And they're always looking to boost their budget, so they wanna be able to say, I was only able to do X number of feet of sidewalk and everyone's griping at me to do more, so. So I think that part of that is for them is also to support their budgets, and maintenance budgets, so.
yeah, and another good example is Shal, if we decide that we wanna do a little bit more than this, if we get into, the staff preliminary review and we start building the team, deciding that, hey, this is working and we wanna provide more of this stuff. This is pretty restricted, actually, so I think.
Yeah. I think that would be something to have leadership do some thinking on, and you can bring me into a conversation about it.
Yeah.
I think Burlington is always the gold standard of embedding the processes into the functions of their government. They've got decades of history doing it, but it never really sat squarely on one person's shoulders. It does live in public works, and so they've been, in other places, it's been planners bringing it forward and citizen coalitions bringing it forward, and they've done the thing of really making it policy procedure. It's how they do their work. So, I think if you guys want to group up on that. Further
I
out.
think you also could use a different word than accountability. I think that that kind of like has not negative and positive connotations, because then you're like placing blame at times that things are not, sort of going.
That's the way I read it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that it, could be deemed as like a negative thing.
I do think some of the language, the reason for the need for the buy-in in public works is that if you don't have it, these things will work.
Oh, I'm not saying I don't want to buy into public works, like I totally.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just can be construed as negative, these responsibility portions.
Thoughts, anyone?
So I'm gonna take a pass at.
You're gonna take a
Yep,
look at
I'm gonna
this.
take a pass at
So
the.
we're not gonna look at it right now.
The revised version out.
You'll go out with all your stuff.
Okay. On Friday or something.
Yep. We're in there.
Is the version that was sent out on the 27th, if I click that link, I'm on that now, is that still the same version I could be looking at remotely?
Yes.
Or is there a new version?
The language in that one hasn't been changed, just the numbering.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess the only thought I would throw out is on the shell should commentary is if we think that what we're putting in here is almost like a bare minimum, then I think shell could be appropriate. Like, shell at a minimum include these things. And then that's not necessarily restrictive in a way that we aren't allowing for future expansion. But that doesn't mean that that shell is the correct term. I'm not saying that. I think that if we feel it's like a bare minimum that should be used, then we could say shell at a minimum.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm gonna take a pass at it. Very much.
Yeah.
The other thing is in the purpose and vision, if it's written in such a way as, like a goal statement instead of as much as a shall, like the goal here is to get us to blah, blah, blah as in a vision. So that it's not like right in the first sentence demanding of the town what should happen.
We just change that shall to should. Yeah.
Okay, aspirations
pretty well.
Very Rochelle's.
Very
We will
All right,
take
folks, so.
those pass on those shells and, yeah. send them
So,
out.
so just to reiterate and wrap up here, we have decided we're gonna meet again on June the 29th. And then the subsequent meeting will be on July the 13th. And at that time, we can decide what our next steps are. Okay, and we're gonna be looking for some documents from you guys, end of the week type thing. Chief's gonna make sure those go out, and then we're gonna have a couple weeks to chime in before we get back together.
Great.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Okie dokie, thanks so much, everybody. Is there any motion to adjourn?
Come on.
Is there a second? All in favor of going home? Thank you, Matt.